1-800-449-8255. So I have the New Yorker in my hand, and the front flap says, "The real Michael Savage, Kalefasana on a shock jock's unexpected side." And I hear that he's been getting left-wing bloggers attacking him for being too fair to me. You imagine this? Now, here's the story about the New Yorker article. Yes, it's made me happy because it shows who I really am as a recording artist, as a talk show host, that there's more than just what you think you're hearing. That's number one. That there's a lot of depth to it, but you have to have an ear for it to understand the depth. So that's one of the main reasons I like it. But the other reason that I like the New Yorker article is that it's about me, and that's, of course, the most important reason. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Has anyone seen the article yet? 1-800-449-8255. Is it a big deal? Yes. Two reasons. I want you to comprehend something. I've had 4 or 5 New York Times bestsellers. I have the third largest radio show in America. I've been on the air 15 years. The Weekly Standard pretends I don't exist. The National Review pretends I don't exist. Conservative websites pretend I don't exist. Isn't it ironic to use a liberal word? It's not really a liberal word, a word used by a lot of libs. They like the word irony. In college, they learn irony. They think everything that's ironic is funny. They don't understand that irony is only one form of humor, but to them, everything is ironic. It's like that woman, Pat, on MSNBC, the sexually ambiguous Pat. I forget her name. Don't want to know her name. The one who looks like that movie, Pat. Everything to her is like an ironic statement with eye rolling, like we're still in the sorority dorm, girls. But isn't it ironic that an organ of the liberal establishment would find Michael Savage's depth interesting enough to feature it, while the phonies at the Weekly Standard and at the so-called National Review pretend I don't exist because I'm not one of the Beltway boys? You know what I mean? Whatever. Play some music. And now live direct from Fort Lauderdale, it's the Assisted Living Hour. What's this one you play? Oh, come on, man. No, stop it. You can't do it. Phil, cut it out. The Assisted Living Hour for Fort Lauderdale is not this show. Okay, stop it. It's enough fun you've had. Los Angeles, Mark, KGIL, go ahead, please.
I have many memories of the Fontainebleau Hotel, having been there hundreds of times, gone to school in Miami. My dad was a personal friend of Ben Novak.
Now, was he a friend of the senior or the junior?
The senior. And I never met him, man. 58, my dad's 82, and I just remember that the senior was a cab driver originally. I remember my dad always telling me the story of how he started out with nothing as a self-made man.
But how did this guy who was a cab driver build the Fontainebleau Hotel in 1954, which was, you know, at that time, building a hotel of that size was unheard of?
I don't know. I think there might have been some mob connections, but I'm not 100% sure. I remember. You happen to remember the name of the bar there?
I was never there. I mean, I have very vague memories of Miami. I must tell my audience. I remember, okay, New York kid, blah, blah, blah. The first time I went to Miami, we went, 4 of us, 6 of us in a car. We drove day and night from New York, eating in the car, sleeping in the car nonstop. So you're talking 1,500 miles. I don't know how long would that take at an average of 50, 60 miles an hour in those days. What would that be, a day and a half, 2 days?
Miami.
Well, when I got to Florida, I had never felt soft, warm air before. I remember to this day the feeling of going to Collins Avenue from New York City and feeling warm air in my sleeves in the winter. I thought I had stepped into heaven at that time. And then I heard, you hear Cuban music coming in from Cuba on the radio. It was like heaven itself. So I had very good memories of Miami in those days. It was a lot of fun. We were young. You felt you were immortal. Nothing could go wrong. You stayed up all night. You partied all night. It was a wonderful experience. But believe me, I didn't.
I stayed with my grandparents, but we used to, as kids, we used to go up and down Collins Avenue to all the fancy hotels looking for girls. This is when we were 14, 15 years old. We'd hang out at the Fontainebleau in the lobby looking for girls on vacation.
So you have positive memories of that era.
Oh, it's fantastic. This was I was born in 51, so this is in the 60s. It was the hotel, and all the kids would hang out in the lobbies. They'd come down with their parents, and we looked for girls nonstop. That was the place to go.
And now that you're in Los Angeles, you don't do that anymore?
I haven't been to Miami. Well, I went to the University of Miami as an undergraduate.
No, I'm saying you don't look for girls anymore in Los Angeles?
Yeah, I do that too. That's why I'm...
I mean, you talk about beautiful women. Everyone knows that Los Angeles has a collection of the most beautiful women in America. Everybody knows that.
No doubt about it.
There's no doubt about it. The most beautiful women in America who are unattached and can do it go there. Unfortunately, their beauty is a thing of fleeting. It's fleeting, but there's a lot of people waiting to help them fly it away. Come fly with me, whatever. Play whatever. I'm going to have an easy day today. I'm not eating my heart out about the coming communism. I'm not going to do it. I refuse. Miami, Lori, you're on the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
Yes, during the late 1960s, there was an illegal casino that would move from floor to floor just ahead of the feds busting it at the Fontainebleau. And one of my roommates in college went with a person who was from one of the best families in Miami. And this was the way that the people avoided having to take the chalk flights over to the Bahamas to gamble. They could go there and gamble. But then it was discontinued after a while.
Interesting. The secret casino. Never heard about the secret casino. Here's a guy who worked at the Fontainebleau. Rick in Las Vegas, welcome to the program.
Yes,
you worked there when?
Yes, for the previous caller, the name of the bar in the lobby of the Fontainebleau was the Poodle Lounge. And
oh, my God. Teddy would have been at home in the Poodle Lounge.
Well, Don King was there every day. I worked during the strike in 1978. I think one of the reasons Ben Novak, by the way, his son Benji was my boss. That's what they called him, Benji. I think one of the reasons he declared bankruptcy was to get rid of the union in the hotel because that hotel was still crowded. I made money hand over fist.
What did you do? What'd you do in the hotel, Rick?
Well, I was a bartender.
Oh, my God. People threw good tips?
Which was the big showroom there.
Let me this is curious for me, a piece of history. What era did you work? What years?
At the Fontainebleau from 77 to 79.
All right, let's say, what was an average drink, a cocktail in those days? What did it cost?
75 cents.
And what would people leave as a tip?
Don King and his 10 bevies that he had around him was sometimes $5.
No, but let's say a person came and ordered a drink for 75 cents. They leave a quarter. They put $1 down?
Usually at the Poodle Lounge, it was more than that. Because that was the bar on the beach.
What, more? They put down more than a quarter, tip?
Yeah, usually.
So you'd get more than a 33% tip on a drink. I'm trying to figure out percentage that people gave.
Hey, folks, we're working on our website tonight, so the third hour of today's Savage Nation will not be available until tomorrow. You're listening to the one and only Savage Nation on Talk 910 KNEW.
Now, here's the story about the New Yorker article. Yes, it's made me happy because it shows who I really am as a recording artist, as a talk show host, that there's more than just what you think you're hearing. That's number one. That there's a lot of depth to it, but you have to have an ear for it to understand the depth. So that's one of the main reasons I like it. But the other reason that I like the New Yorker article is that it's about me, and that's, of course, the most important reason. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Has anyone seen the article yet? 1-800-449-8255. You know, my favorite piece in this article was here. We're talking about Michael Savage, unexpurgated, party of one in the New Yorker. I really enjoyed reading it last night because he caught stuff I had forgotten I said, which is typical of radio, by the way. How can you remember everything you say? It's impossible to remember 15 years of monologues, right? So listen to this. He says, near the end of his book, Psychological Nudity, Savage writes, I'm watching the sands of time fall into the hourglass. There's more sand on the bottom now than there is on the top. And he makes references to his own death with startling frequency a few times an hour, week after week. And that's true. Just about anything can set him off. A beautiful pair of Shetland sheepdogs in the mall reminds him of the dog's kindly owner, which in turn reminds him of unkind dog owners, which makes him think about Michael Vick's dog fighting operation, which brings mind to mind dead dogs, which leads him inexorably to a consideration of, quote, the old boxeroo waiting at the end of the road for all of us, close quote. His thoughts on dying are often informed by Buddhist theories of enlightenment and reincarnation.